5.
Do I hear music?
I think that's the sound of the night terrors that we're still enduring.
We're still suffering
that's-
through.
I still remember that night.
Ugh. Hello. Skip Bisque.
Whoa, Samuel.
Yes.
Samuel!
We just watched probably one of the worst shows on Netflix.
I don't know. That's a pretty low bar to. I think there's worse things on Netflix. That's just my opinion, though.
Well, fine. I'll retake my
If you
statement.
can't tell from our thumbnail, it was kind of a turd.
Yeah, it's a wolf turd.
It was a very okay show.
The show could not have been worse, and so different from the book.
Of all the completely average to somewhat unimpressive animated series out there, and I say animated very loosely because it was more like stop motion, really bad stop motion, but
See,
you know, it certainly is a thing.
See, thanks to Spider-Man and Puss in Boots, we had this shitty animation style. I hate the stop motion look. I've never really liked it.
Well,
Puss in Boots was okay, but the Spider-Man movies, no. Never really been a fan of the whole comic book, like claymation.
the
Like,
thing
style.
is when one movie makes $1 bajillion and it uses a particular art style, everybody starts copying that for the next 5 to 10 years. You all know this.
Yeah. Well, you should know it more than anybody, out of me and Skippo, because you're the artist
Well,
here.
You know, I have a funny story about that. I mean, animation doesn't have any respect as it is. But when I first saw that Spider-Man movie started, the guy next to me leaned over and said, "Is this all completely animated?" I was like, "Yeah." He got up and left. I was just like, "Oh, my heart. I'm an animator. That's insulting." But he apparently thought it was a real Spider-Man movie, not an animated one.
Was it a boomer like you?
Actually, yeah. But anyway, getting back to the topic at hand, the steaming, festering pile of turd called Wolf King that we watched, that we binged in a straight marathon, and I had to angrily tell us to get back to because somebody was distracting us.
Yeah. Just to reiterate, we binged the entire season. There's only 8 episodes, and they're 20-25 minutes apiece. And the show felt like a movie, like one long movie. The episodes went by so fast. There was no time to breathe. Because me reading the first book back when it first came out, like over a decade ago, and also rereading a little bit of it today when I got home from work. That's the very first few chapters are immediately different than how the show started. Because in the show, it was all bright and sunny and shiny. It's like, oh, what a wonderful day in this small little town. And then in the book, it's like it's storming. The storm's coming. You need to make sure the animals are inside the barn. You need to make sure. But father, there's some animal out there, and it's because they're being stalked by the rat.
The were-rat.
Yeah. So
first off, we should explain the premise of these books.
Yeah. So just to sum it up, instead of just dragging on about it, it's basically just furry Game of Thrones mixed with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's good. That's a good way to describe it.
You would think it would have been good, but no, it was shit.
What is the name of the series that it is based off? Starts with a W?
The book series is called Wereworld.
That's right.
But so for some reason Netflix called it Wolf King.
Oh, they didn't want to call it Wereworld because they'd be like, well, we already have all these other furry shows. We can't be labeled extra furry, so just call it that.
Well, the first book is called Rise of the Wolf, and that's what season 1 is supposed to be. And it's such a rushed, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Mess?
It's just a mess. Yeah, it's just a giant mess. Each episode went by way too fast. Because like when something's about to happen, it just ends, and then they're not really in the situation anymore in the next episode, or they get out of the situation they're in really easily. That and the main character is a giant pussy.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Mm.
But the general premise of these books that I have not read, but I briefly scanned over the wiki of,
Mm.
is that in this Westeros-esque kind of world, there are what's it, 7 or 8 different like kingdoms, and they all have ruled by like
7.
For 7
okay,
kingdoms.
7, and they're all ruled by these warlords, and they're all different species of dudes who become animals.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, you guys go ahead because that's all I know.
Alright, Skip, I'll let you speak on this a little bit.
Okay, so do you want me to go episode by episode or summary overall?
Summary overall to
Talk
start,
about
and
the
then we can
different
nitpick it
lords.
later.
Talk about the different lords first, and then we can nitpick it later.
Okay, well, we we have Count Vega, ship captain, as one, who is a shark warlord, and we find out that they're pretty capable, if not equally matched to what we could see from the wolf warlord that we see debuted in Drew. We've also seen a lion warlord, which is
The king.
King Leopold, as well as his son, Prince
He's the bad guy.
Lucas.
We'll get to that later.
Yep. And we've also got Whitley and her father, which is Duke of Bergen, both bear warlords, where we find that they have quite a impressive, I'm going to say offensive and defensive power.
But just barely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bear puns are also in the show, if anybody was worried about them.
I have really very little to say aside from criticism, but you'll hear that soon. So, yeah, be prepared for a lot of bad puns.
Yep, we also have Gretchen, who is a fox warlord, even though the animation studio decided that we did not need to know what that actually
They
looked like.
tease it. Like throw a painting on the wall, and that's it.
Yep, we never get to see it. And
That's one of the most frustrating things about this show is you have these characters that can turn into these badass animal like warriors, and you never see it.
Yeah, it's always shadows, or it's just you don't barely briefly see it. It's very annoying.
Yep, and we also had the boar warlords, Hector and his father, who is.
But you wouldn't know that because you never see him change.
Right, and despite all of the critical moments in the show where it would have been extremely important to do that, we never witnessed any of that.
Nope.
Yeah, they didn't even have like a plot ploy where they're like, oh god, I could really go for a truffle right now. And the guy's like, I can help. Turns into a pig, digs up the truffle, saves the day. We didn't have anything like that. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, and then the only other werelord that we witnessed was the rat werelord.
I wouldn't really say they were a lord. They were more of a warlock in the show.
There was two. There was one who was using the warlock power, and then the other one was actually doing it.
Yes, there's magic in this world too, but only for specific people and plot devices.
Yes, including bringing people back to life. But apparently that's used sparingly, randomly.
Yeah.
Without consequence as well, unless you accidentally break the circle, but whatever.
Whatever helps the plot make our main character even less interesting.
There's a lot of plot holes and MacGuffins throughout the entire show. It's very annoying.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that the more we watched it, the angrier we became. Like, just like a slow burn of anger. Like, why aren't they this? Why won't they that? And then it's just...
Will they, won't they?
Like, think of like the middle of the second episode, we were just like, okay. We have another 6 episodes to go after this?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I'll reiterate, the show goes really fast. Like, a lot of things just happen. There is no rhyme or reason for some of the things that do happen. Because I'm keeping it vague, because spoilers, if anybody even cares. And it's just the fact that if Netflix didn't fuck it up, they could have had something decent. But granted, it is a young adult novel, or book
Well,
series.
see, that's the thing, and I'm guessing it had to be another girl boss thing.
Oh, totally.
I have, like I said, I have not read the books,
Usually,
so I could be wrong about the source
yeah,
material.
yeah. Usually, when you hear the Netflix, they Netflixed it. They ruined it.
Well, you'd think that they'd have learned by now,
Oh, they'll never
but
learn.
everything suffers from Lilo and Stitch live action syndrome. Well, it made money. Let's make more.
Yeah. Well, as I said a little bit ago, the main character gets dragged around in his own story by other
Oh, he
people.
does nothing.
He
He does
literally
absolutely nothing.
he doesn't do hardly anything. He'll like swing a sword for like a few seconds and then he get knocked out. He'll just
Mhm.
get knocked out.
Well, all the women do the fighting, and they're far more effective than the men, as they
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. The friend Hector also gets dragged around too, but he has some agency to him, but the main character has no agency at all in this show, like he does in the book.
We should start with the setup here, really, and explain kind of what happens in the first episode, and then we can complain even better.
Do you want a summary?
Yeah, summary.
Yes, let's do the briefest and most pain-free summary you can
All right.
muster.
Episode 1, Scuba.
Okay, so episode 1, we get to see Drew Farron, who lives in a seacoast village, who appears to be a very average person, doesn't have anything special going for him.
I'm not special.
He's even told by his brother, "You don't have a chance in hell with that girl," as he, trades an apple with his brother. And then they go up to a hill, come home, and Dad and Mom are waiting, and everything's set to have dinner and just have another peaceful occasion. Only upon which Drew looks up at the moon and starts to have trouble having dinner because, his eyes start glowing, and there's something clearly wrong with Drew.
He's an unaware wolf. He doesn't know he's one.
Well, nobody knows he's a wolf at this moment except his mother, apparently. So she asks the father and his brother to go outside to go do something, even though it's never explained what exactly they were supposed to go do. And then tries to tell him as quickly as possible there's something special about him. She removes a sword from underneath the floorboards that has a wolf crest at the hilt and hands it to him and tells him he needs to take this, and before much more can happen, a rat man gets into the house, and Drew tries to fight it at first, and then his mother gets in the way, takes the attack for him, and she doesn't hold up against the rat and is basically mortally wounded.
Yeah.
The rat leaves as the father and brother are trying to get into the house. And as she's dying, she says, "You need to go see Duke Bergen." And that's all she can manage before she dies.
And then kills over.
Right. Then the brother and father break in, see him looking at a dead mother partially transformed as like half wolf creature, and they automatically assume that he has killed his mother, not understanding how werelords work, apparently.
Well, he doesn't even bother to try and explain it.
Yeah.
Really.
Right. Well, he doesn't even know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, the kid's like, I didn't do anything. I loved her. Yeah, we get that, but you're not really building a good case against yourself when
I know. Does nothing to try to explain the situation at all.
Yeah.
And so basically, father and brother turn around, and before doing so, the father tries to fight Drew. Drew gets out the window, does not, initiate much conflict. They whistle down below to the village, and then all the villagers come after Drew after they say that he has killed the mother.
And by the way, villagers just appear out of nowhere.
Yes, they just literally teleported into existence.
They just kind of disappear, give up, and disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so Drew gets to the top of the hill, which is coincidentally just far enough away from another hill that you couldn't make the jump normally. But if you have magic jumping abilities as a wolfman, apparently you can make this jump.
Magic werewolf powers.
Yeah. And they get him at the top, and he uses his powers in an instant to make this jump across. After fighting his brother off and deciding not to kill him, breaking an axe in front of him and dropping it at the ground in front of him, deciding not to kill him very clearly. The brother somehow still takes this as some sort of weird challenge threat thing. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And he just leaves. Leaves the villagers behind, even though the father gives almost an approving nod that he just needs to leave the area. But
being the puss that he is, he flees.
He just
right,
flees.
and
There's
yep.
no actual fighting with this guy.
And
Unlike
that's
in the
the end of
book.
episode 1.
Yeah, feel free to tell us the difference between the show and the book as we go.
Yeah. Well, other than what Skippa had just said, the very beginning of the book is a lot different when it comes to what everybody is doing, and the fact that the way his parents, or at least his family or mother, dies is a lot more violent.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it comes to the main character, Drew actually managed to actually fight the bad guy in the scenario.
Let's bring up this annoying point about the show.
Yeah.
Tragedies and violence, there's no blood. You don't see anything to make you think, oh, that's awful. They just kind of cut away. I got reaction shots. It's not the kind of thing that I like to see. I think it's just being pussified for the sake of Netflix and their advertisers.
Yeah, I just feel like they made it too kid friendly. Like they cut all of
No
the
doubt.
violence out. Other than a few short spurts here and there, you'll get like a spooky fight scene that may, wow somebody for a few seconds, but then it'll be, oh, Drew's knocked out again, and then other characters that he's with are either knocked out or are fighting the bad guy in the scenario. Because when he meets up with Whitley, she, which I believe, look, I'm trying to look. I'm looking at the wiki to help me out because it's been a minute since I've read the book. They meet each other in the woods after he flees this little town that he's from, and in the show he's knocked out like immediately.
Yep.
And then the girl,
because he has to be a pussy. That's why
the girl holds her own, and like a little skinny. She's not like buff, mind you. She's like a little skinny girl from Breckenholm.
probably bulked her up for the show.
I don't think she was that buff in the show either.
Because she got to be a strong woman. How could she not be?
Well, that, like I said, that Netflixter. That's the
Anyway,
name.
go on.
It's just really annoying, and they run into the Wildermen, which in the show I will give it some credit where credit is due, that they actually do look spooky. That the enemies that they run into the woods.
But this girl, what's her name again?
Whitley.
Whitley, who's just happens to be a bear person, just never turns into a goddamn bear. Not to fight off the spiders.
She
not to fight off
does,
these
sort
Wildermen.
of. But not fighting the giant spider or the Wilderman.
She doesn't ever fully commit to the transformation.
Not at all.
Oh, like is that a thing in the book or?
Skin.
She's just like, I don't want to poop in the woods. I want to poop in a toilet like a normal person.
They actually did make a joke reference to that as well in one of the episodes.
Oh God, did they?
Remember they said, "Does a bear go in the woods?" And I'm like, "Oh my
God." We must have been talking.
Yeah, they briefly did it, and I pointed it out.
Self-aware.
Oh my God. So stupid.
I must have missed that one.
It was something like, "Does a bear live in the woods?" And I'm like, okay, well, obviously that's a reference to the other show.
See, they couldn't even have her, waist deep in a river catching salmon.
Well, I don't think they're gonna do that because they're going.
Yeah, but they could have done something.
Yeah, they never did anything like that.
No. But essentially, they ended up taking Drew in and arrested. But they did cut out a character named Hogan. Because he's like in the woods for like months before he meets Whitley in the book.
Mm.
Because then they meet up, they fight the Wildermen, and then they go to Breckenholm, where
When they meet her father, who's like the
yeah,
king, right?
yeah, the king. They take in Drew's arrested. They like Tofu was saying when we were watching it, they tortured the shit out of Drew. Like he's being tortured for a bit by the
But they don't show that in the show. All
Alliance,
you
by
see is him
Prince.
with like handcuffs on, just going, "Oh."
Yeah, he's just kind of moping around. So
He's a very mopey, and he passes out a lot. This kid, I mean, if there was a gold medal for passing out or
And
getting
being arrested or
being arrested,
imprisoned.
jailed,
doing nothing.
knocked out, or just hanging around, like because he's getting tossed around everywhere and hanging around.
That was the
getting
thing
caught
that the
up.
consensus we all, agreed upon was that this kid is a puss. He's a terrible main character. He does nothing. He's not proactive.
Not at all. And it really, it's like I said, it really angers me that they would do this to the character.
As Jim Furno is saying, like that in the animation was very limited. Too true. They put this animation on what looks like 6s or 8s sometime. They held on a lot of frames, so it's not smooth animation. It's and again they want it to look like that.
I would say one of the worst episodes that reveals how limited they must have been was episode 5, where they returned to Motley, the village that he came from. All of the villagers are completely gone except 2 people. Everyone else is gone.
There's only 2 guards and one other
3.
person.
There was 3 guards and 2 villagers.
Was it like that? Was it like that?
No.
No. No.
There was one guy in a cage and one woman hiding up on the hill. That was it. There was no one else.
Now I bet that was done for the budget, but I mean, I don't think they rendered anything because everything looks like it's made of clay. The hair, the trees, the rocks, everything just has this clay look, and the stuttered animation doesn't lend itself well to that kind of style. It just doesn't. No. Anyway, back to the plot, so-called.
I mean, we could also go into the fact that none of the, I'm going to say, ethnic profiles of any of these places make any sense at all.
Well, no, I think it's just one of those, like, everything has to be multicultural. Nobody can look alike. You can't have, like, a certain group of people that's, like, one consistent ethnic group because that would be racist, wouldn't it?
I guess so, but... Like, he comes from what appears to be like a Norwegian seacoast village situation.
Yeah,
and
they're basically like Vikings. Scotland and
Vikings. It's just weird.
Everybody brace yourself, we're about to get racial.
Well, that was as far as I was going to go. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, well, there's no consistency except for one. The bad guys. And guess what race they are.
Every single bad guy in the show are white, other than I think the elk guys, because they seem to be trying to help Drew in the show, but we don't know much about them yet. Also, the ship captain Vega in the show, he's supposed to be, oh, you can trust me, I'm a pirate, kind of thing. He has that like demeanor about him, and he's like, "Oh, don't believe everything I say," and then, hot, psych, just kidding, bad guy moment, taking it to the king, in the.
I think they tried to make him look kind of Spaniard, kind of suave pirate.
Well, I was gonna say he kind of reminded me of Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean, but the fact that he betrayed them, even though it was kind of obvious he was going to betray them and take them to King Leopold, it was just.
Oh yeah, you could see that a mile come.
Yeah, you could see.
Anyway, back to the plot. So Drew is a prisoner.
Yep.
In a giant tree in the Big Bear Village, where nobody's a bear, mostly human, like 90% of the time, which pisses me off. This is a TF podcast, and you rarely see people just like meandering around as bears, digging up berries, or doing whatever the fuck bears do.
Well, they try to offer a very weak explanation for why people aren't doing it all the time. But...
Do tell.
Yeah, tell us about it.
So, in episode 4, when they escape from Brackenholm, which is where the bears are from, So Drew, Gretchen, and Hector are all trying to escape from the area and try to move on with, figuring out where the hell to go next. And they determine, well, we're just going to try to make a go of it. And they go through the woods that are, directly outside of Brackenholm that they came from last time, where the Wildermen practically almost killed everyone. And then now they find themselves in the middle of it all over again. Well, they go through, and then Gretchen gets immediately kidnapped. Okay.
Yeah.
And what we learn about very quickly is a lot of stupid crap happens on the way. But basically, they encounter more Wildermen. They kill some Wildermen, and they take the corpse of one of them, perform some necromancy, which apparently is possible in this world. Hector does what he says is forbidden magic, but goes ahead and does it anyways. The dead Wilderman tells them that Gretchen is being sacrificed to someone named Vala that used to be a snake warlord. Used to be as in, like, apparently if you do this for too long, you eventually just become an animal, and that's like a giant. Not even
sheep. That's
right.
They didn't have to animate the shit.
Right. So we get to see Vala with Gretchen just by herself, only to immediately encounter another giant spider, as we had seen previously in episode 2. Only to see the spider immediately retreat as soon as they go into the fog surrounding Gretchen, to which we find the giant snake is hiding inside the mist. Mm-hmm. And then they see the giant snake, and we learn, oh, this is what happens if you let yourself go into this whole werelord thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Drew tries to fight it, gets knocked out again.
Yep, but the show never talks about, like, what exactly is the limitation of doing this. Nobody ever seems to talk about it.
Most of the time, Drew just, like, his eyes turn yellow, and he grabs his head and he goes, and then he passes out, or just
he gets really angry, like he hulks out for like a few.
By the way, we didn't bring this up, but he's supposed to be like the ancestor of the king. He's supposed to be the one who inherits the whole kingdom, because apparently, like, the wolf people are extinct.
Yep, in episode 3, we find out from Duke Bergen, because this is apparently what his mother wanted him to find out, was if he talked to Duke Bergen would fill him in on the legacy of the Wolf King, because apparently all 7 of these lands were once ruled by the Wolf King, but the Wolf King was overthrown by Leopold and Vanaskin, who, through some means, were able to conquer him and then take all the kingdoms over, and now rules everything. So
threw a frisbee off the top of the castle. He chased it.
Yeah, but it's never explained how exactly this one son is safely escorted out of the area, and nobody ever finds out where he went.
There's no, unless he was born out of wedlock. But then
that's not possible, because they say the queen is his mother.
Yeah, so they don't explain how he got out of the kingdom then, because the father is killed.
Right. So all they said was his adoptive mother, which was hired by the queen to take him safely out of the area. That's all we got. But we don't know, like, what exactly, how did that work? What did they do? How did nobody not know about this?
Yeah, how did nobody search all the lands trying to find the prince of the throne? That doesn't make any sense.
Because they know he existed, obviously. Because well, we find out in episode 8 that Van Morton, which is Vanaskin's brother, is sent to go assassinate him. So apparently they knew about it, but why did they wait so long? It doesn't make any sense.
Because if they knew he existed and they knew where he was, how come they didn't try to kill him earlier? That doesn't
I think they have all those scenes of him passing out and being a puss just to distract you from all that, so you don't ask questions about the plot.
Well, it's the fact that that's a giant plot hole, because if they knew that he existed and he was on the other side of the kingdom, then why did they not try to kill him when he was just a kid? This is like the I'm forgetting a plot point Game of Thrones.
So at the beginning of episode 1, they try to briefly suggest that Van Morton was looking for them. As in, like, Van Morton was going from shadow to shadow, between rock to rock, like up the hill, getting closer. As in, like, he was searching, trying to find this kid, but strangely enough, decided not to finish him off before he gets back to the house, before anything can be explained to him, or before he even knows what he is.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. That doesn't seem to be a good explanation, even though that's what it seems like they were trying to do, but it doesn't make any sense.
Me, it doesn't seem like the writers of the show read the book. Because I know the writer who did the book series said on Twitter that he was changing a lot from the book.
I'm surprised they didn't give Drew a man bun.
Yeah, the California bun.
No, they gave that to Hector already.
Now we have the prince, of course, who's you've got the evil. By the way, the evil bad guys are all lions. The lion men have taken over the world.
Yeah, you're talking about Prince Luke.
Yeah.
Prince Lucas.
Prince Lucas. Yep. Which is also coincidentally the whitest character in the entire show.
Honestly,
See,
I
what
don't.
bothers. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't really like the designs they went with in the show because on the books, depending on what cover you see, that they actually look cool. They had like a cool design, but in the show, they look very strange.
They're like light beer versions of what they could have been.
Yeah, they're the Bud Light versions of the book covers.
Well, that's the thing about this show that really irks me most. So much potential for like great fantasy and visuals.
Oh yeah,
and it's like they did the bare minimum.
Well, like
that
Jim
pun was
said in
intended.
chat, yeah, I know. Like Jim said in chat, Netflix cheaped out since they're infamous for that. Like, yeah, why do you have to cheap out on a book series that could be somewhat close to Game of Thrones?
And like I said, I've never read the books, but if they did the same thing in the book, that bullshit excuse as to why they can't TF most of the time, turn into these cool creatures back and forth, it just, that then the author cheaped out too. I'm going to say it.
Well, let me look. I'm gonna look at eBay real quick because I bought the last 2 books Friday because I got so pissed at the show. I'm like, fuck it. I'm gonna buy the last 2 books that I don't have, and I'm gonna read all the books at some point.
Well, if you notice, every character that can transform, it's like they pre-made the models for the characters that they already knew would be transformable, but then no other characters ever get those benefits. Like, we never see Whitley's brother transform. He never does, even though there are several moments where he should have.
There are no full transformations in this show.
Except
the show
Duke
is
Bergen.
Okay, but like every time Drew is about to do it, every time somebody else is about to do it, like the camera cuts behind somebody else, and then when they come out from behind the person, they're fully, changed.
Oh, you're talking about the sequence.
Lame.
It's not just once; they did it a couple times, and it's cheap. I gotta say, it's cheap.
The only part that they showed more of the process was episode 1, and then after that, they never did it again.
It was episode 1 and then episode 8 with King Leopard.
Yep.
Leopold. Sorry.
Leotard.
Well, he might as well be Leotard because there was a lot of decisions.
Let's just call him Leotard from now on.
I mean, he almost is wearing one, so
pretty much.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the so-called plot.
How many times is Bisque gonna say, "Let's get back to the so-called plot" when we're talking about the so-called plot?
Well, there isn't really much of a. I'm gonna say the plot is there, but it's just not that amazing.
The plot in the show is stitched together with masking tape.
And when we were watching it, we were so kind of taken aback and angry that I think a lot of plot details just kind of
they
right
cut
over the head.
a lot out of the show because the book has 416 pages, and we probably got maybe not even half that in the show because there's a lot of side characters they cut out. There's a lot of like I said, Drew being out in the woods, the forest for months surviving that they cut out of the show because they wanted to get to beat after beat after beat. It's like point A to point B, from point B all the way to point E. It just wasn't great. It was rushed. It was
Oh, and
very.
have we brought up the silver?
Oh yeah, the silver, the banned silver that no one can use except for the king.
Yep. Well, it's apparently banned in this entire world. I guess it affects everybody, right? Not just the werewolf.
Hmm.
And yet, it's everywhere.
Yeah, apparently so. All right, Skippo.
What, you want me to go over another episode?
Yeah.
You might as well.
I mean, it feels like we've already beaten the subject to death.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's 8 episodes and they're very short, so it's not
I
really much to
We
really
are
go
talking about
on.
the first season, right?
I
So,
know.
first
Yeah,
season is 8 episodes.
well, that's all we got. So episode 2 is about basically, Drew escapes the village, immediately encounters Whitley in the forest, sees her drop a map on the ground, and immediately assumes it's a map for some reason, and
Which gets
tries to get it.
destroyed.
Kids
Right.
got some good
Well,
eye.
that doesn't get destroyed until later on because remember he follows her because he thinks he's going to get the map or be led to where to go next. And
Well, he follows
it,
her trying to get the map. She captures him somehow.
yep, by setting a rope trap on the ground that was coincidentally placed just before the map hits the ground somehow,
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense.
which wasn't visible in the frame right before that, which was right where the map was. There was
Mhm.
nothing there.
Yeah.
It's
So
not the
are they
only
trying to
example
say
where they
that
did
she
that.
knew he was there?
Yeah. Because I
That's
guess that remember there was one moment where he steps on one twig, she turns her head, turns back because there was nothing there,
yeah,
and then just somehow there's a rope placed there already.
She smelled him coming.
Yeah, but
probably.
if that
We don't know. They don't tell us anything.
right, they never tell us
Yeah,
about scent.
and that's one thing about the show that drives me nuts. It's like, okay, she's a bear. She could potentially smell him, but and then like bend down while he's stuck in the trap. He steps in her
Yeah,
trap.
but that would also
Caught up.
if anyone would have that ability, it would be Mr. Wolfman, who would have like smell that goes like a mile away, but that's never even like brought up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
never.
they didn't
None of
even
their
do the.
powers are brought up in the show.
Yeah, they didn't even Family Guy it. Like, you farted, didn't you? How can you
Yeah.
tell? Wolf knows.
Yeah, they didn't do anything to like expand upon the fact that they are, animal hybrids of some kind.
It's pathetic. It's weak. It's garbage.
It's just really underdeveloped is one way of looking at it.
I feel like nobody at the head of Netflix gave a shit, and they're like, "What is this? Some book show? Some book that people like? Oh, well, let's only give them like a couple of $100,000.
It's like
Go at it."
unsalted French fries. That's what it's like.
I think this would be that Hell's Kitchen moment where he's like, "It's raw," because it's like not done. Like they did not. It feels like the show's unfinished.
It's
raw.
barely conceived.
It just feels like they didn't have much time to do this. Like it
They
feels.
must have given that author like a shitload of money. Like just here's some money. Look away.
Hmm.
It just feels like a beta version of what should have been like more thought out. Like it feels like these scripts were written one time and nobody went back to edit them or say like, this sounds like a terrible idea. Maybe we should reconsider. Nope, it's fine.
I kind of want to look up the writers' names and then research their social media to find out what their beliefs are.
Oh no, yeah,
not.
it's not good. Trust me.
I actually have to give writers the benefit of the doubt because there's no doubt that they wrote some. Most of the time, writers write things and they're really cool, right?
Yeah.
And then the people in charge say you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do. I know because I've worked in fucking Hollywood for 25 years. I've had to go through the same thing. So I'll be willing to give the writers benefit of the doubt at the very least.
I don't want to give the writers a benefit of the doubt, especially for the ones for the show. The first book came out in 2011, and every other book came out a few years after that. Cut to over a decade later when the show came out. Yeah, not doing too good.
You know what has more transformations in it? The frickin' Animorphs show from the friggin' late 90s.
Or even Goosebumps.
The cheap ass show from the 90s has better like
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I want to know what the conversation, like fly on the wall. I want to know what the conversation was between the author of the books and the people at Netflix, because there's no way they sat down and said, "Okay, you got
It's
6
good.
books. Let's make every single book like really shorten it down as a show, and let's just skip all like the boring stuff," which
It's Cliff Notes. It's the Cliff Notes version of the books, I'm guessing.
I would not even say it's Cliff Notes. I would say it's like a bastardized version of the books. It's like the violence, like on a scale of 1 to 10, the book is like an 8, 7 and 8. In the show, it's like a 2 because
If that.
they killed like what, maybe 6 people,
Yep.
like actually on screen, and there was no blood. If there was any blood
They
in the
didn't.
show, it was
No,
like
there
for
was no
like
blood.
there was no
There was
blood
not
at
a
all.
single moment where there was blood ever.
Not even on like
And
walls.
No,
Well,
nothing.
you know that part where he transformed on the dock in front of those like lion guard guys, and they didn't even like turn into things themselves. They were just like run.
Oh, I don't think
Yep.
the guards have the power. I think
Nothing happened.
they're just
No, the
kind of
guards don't appear to have any ability to become lion people at all.
And that's what drives me crazy about this friggin' well, I mean, the premise of the show is the lion people have taken over. How could they take over without the numbers?
Did you
well,
cut out?
Oh, I don't know. Did I?
I think you did.
Oh, hello. What did you miss? I was saying something about like, well, the premise of the show is that the lion dudes
Well.
took over, and how could they take over if they didn't have superior numbers? I don't fucking know.
There you
yeah. Well, also the fact that, well, spoiler alert,
go.
the
Right.
That was a very tepid spoiler alert.
yeah. Well, Drew's dad and brother, and I say in quotations, they ended up working for King Leopold, and
Mhm.
they don't, like, by the end of the show, they don't even kill the king. They essentially he just locks himself away in his tower, and everybody in the whole city that surrounds the tower is just saying, "Hey, look, we got a new king," and he's like this child. Like, well, the other one's not even dead.
Who killed his mother? Maybe.
No, we didn't kill his.
I know, but anyway, like it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's oh man.
Mhm.
Well, I'll definitely have to sit down and just read the entire book this week, and
Don't. It'll just make you sad.
It's just make you just know it won't make me sad, it'll just make me mad. Because if given a proper budget, this could have been something really good.
I think it'll make you sad because, like, you probably read the book saying, "Well, why didn't they make it like the book?" And you're like, the book's not much better.
Yep.
The rule of thumb is that the books typically are more better than the show or
Because according to Wikipedia, I think the guy who wrote the books wrote most of the scripts.
Oh my god, did he?
I think he did.
You know what's really strange, like even worse about this whole transformation thing, especially for Drew, the main character, which is in episode 1, he never fully transforms, despite the fact that he watches his, at the time what he believes to be his true mother just dies in front of him. And
Yeah.
the best he can do is like, I'm gonna use my Hulk hands, and that's all I can do.
Yeah, he kind of just turns into Hulk hands.
Well, he had
Right,
the
that's all he can
hands,
do.
and he had the Hulk hands and the Hulk feet, and that was it. And then the eyes.
That was it. But like, not even that much later, there's a few guards like in episode.
You couldn't even get a wet nose.
In episode 2, he is fighting some guards that won't let him into the city, and then basically he's able to transform in that moment though, where it's far less critical at that, because like he can just go around them, but he doesn't.
Yeah, and
I was right, by the way. He did write
it. He gets knocked out in his wolf form,
which is even more incredible.
Yeah,
stupid.
Like, what?
No, let's not even forget the fact of what he did. Like, not even 5 minutes before that. Remember what happens? He killed a giant spider.
Yeah, he killed the giant spider. like accidentally in the show.
Yeah, but still, he was able to do all those fancy maneuvers despite the fact that he has no experience.
See,
And
now
then,
I was right, by the way. I checked the wiki, and yeah, the guy who wrote the books did do most of those
Oh
scripts.
my god, what the hell happened?
Which tells me he didn't give a fuck.
No, he got a
No.
massive payday. He didn't give a shit about this show.
Yeah, they're like, here, we'll give you £50,000 per episode. Or 500,000, I don't know.
Probably
Mhm.
pounds.
I think
'cause
he's British. Could be British.
No, he's
Oh
British.
well.
No offense to decent British people out there, but, you know, fuck that guy.
Yeah, because most of the book he's just on the run. He's with like Gretchen and like everybody else. Like he made friends. They
Surprised he
made.
didn't make the same noise every time he got knocked out. Such a puss.
I mean, he kind of did because Whitley tries to give him the key to leave at the end, and he's like, "No, I don't wanna. I don't wanna."
don't want to. I feel guilty for things I shouldn't feel guilty for.
Yeah, he's just being a little whiny bitch. It's just really annoying.
Please emasculate me more, pretty woman.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary of what he sounds like.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Well, that
So,
and like we keep going back to the animation. The animation's just so fucking bad.
And it gets worse and worse. Like you could tell, like by the end of the series, the animators were just like, ugh,
They were
phoning it
giving
in.
up. They're phoning it in. The silver, like what would you like silver lava that they have in the giant tube?
that's episode 8.
Yeah.
Just
the
for
last episode.
context, at the end he's
It's
captured, and they're
multi-silver.
gonna drown or kill him in this giant vat of liquid silver, which I don't think any of them want to go anywhere near. How they got it in there without
There's
5
no
or 6 guys.
explanation how they got it in there. They were just building it in the background.
Yeah,
But
they would also, you would wonder, so I guess, considering that as Hector said a few episodes ago, silver is one of the only things that can kill a werelord. And as we witnessed in episode
they got a lot of it.
in episode 3, we find out that silver is not only like banned, illegal, and whatever. We find out all the lions are using swords made of silver, and
yeah, like how?
Right, and we find out the knife that Vanaskin is holding is made of silver, to which he stabs, Hector's father instantly and kills him.
But his father wasn't a werelord; he was just a normal human.
I think he got disemboweled, which would have been. I think he got disemboweled, but I think we don't see it because we see the guy raise his hand, swipe down. The guy goes, but it's a shot in the neck.
Again, to reiterate, we don't see any violence in this entire show.
There was no stab wounds.
These people have spears and claws and swords and arrows, and there's no fucking blood. There's no fucking violence. There's just running and whining. That's what this show is all about.
Right. The worst we get is he rolls down the stairs, and probably would have broken several bones, but we don't even get that.
My digidegrade feet. I tripped.
Okay, Jim says, though for writing, I'd wonder if it's under TAG or WGA in terms of if Netflix had to deal with writer unions.
It feels like it was made by AI in a very early version of AI.
Yeah.
Drijuce says, I'm glad I didn't watch this with y'all.
You need to watch the show, Dry. You need to watch it.
You're missing out. It was truly a masterpiece of wasting my time.
Just save yourself, Dry. Don't watch it.
Imagine if Game of Thrones was good and it had more interesting magic in it. This is what the show should have been, by the way. That's the books. If anything, read the books, Drijuce.
Lame of groans. I'd forgotten how bad it was until we started talking about this.
Yeah. We watched episodes 1 through 8. It probably took like an hour and a half. Watching all.
No, it was longer than that.
Was it about? What was it? Like 2 hours? There's no way it was more than 2 hours.
It was a little over 2 hours.
A little over 2 hours.
You know, it kind of reminded me of the live-action Last Airbender, the early one, the M. Night Shyamalan one, the bad one.
The one we never.
Not that the recent one was really that great, but
the one we don't speak of.
We don't talk about it.
We don't speak about it.
It's like Fight Club. We don't talk about it.
No, it's like the Pee Pee Poopa Man movie.
Yeah,
the movie's called The Bye Bye Man, but the meme is Pee Pee Poopa Man.
Bye Bye Man.
Yeah, don't say it, don't think it, don't talk about it. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I could complain all day and night about the horrible transformations, the lack of transformations,
Oh no.
the bullshit cutting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, there's so many cuts. I don't know what it is with Hollywood these days. It's like when you're doing a scene, there's so many different cuts. Like they're cutting stuff so fast, and it's really nauseating.
The pacing was pretty much on par with the new Lilo and Stitch first 2 minutes of that movie, which just
See,
blazed by.
I don't want to watch the new Leo and Stitch movie. I heard it was ass, and the scenes I've seen on Twitter and on YouTube, it looks awful. Might as well just sit and watch the regular one, the original.
Yeah. I mean, we could complain about that, and we'll save that for another time. But right now,
Yeah.
all I want to do is dump on this dog shit, pun intended, pile of a TV series. I guess we can't call them TV series anymore. What do we call them? Just streaming series?
I don't.
Horseshit? Dog shit?
I don't know because I don't have a Netflix account because we used Skipper's.
Festering slop. That's the thing everybody's calling bad stuff now is the slop.
Well, I don't really watch many shows these days. I try to just sit and watch like movies or play games from like 20 years ago.
Well, yeah. This
This
is the only thing worth playing these days. There's nothing new that you want to play.
New games and new movies and TV shows just suck ass. Like the writing's either bad, they cheap out on special effects.
It's a fucking show about people who turn into animals and you never see it.
Yeah. The main thing about what the show is about or the book's about, you don't even have in your show.
It's so sparse. Like when you do get like a little bit of it's like, oh, they stopped. Oh, he passed out. Oh, he got knocked on the head. Oh, the girl did something and he did nothing.
Yep.
This Wolf King, he's the king of fucking nothing.
No.
Well, yeah, that's one way of putting it. It's like it's just you keep thinking something's gonna happen, but nothing happens.
Like they build up to something a little bit, and you think it's gonna happen, and it doesn't.
But the fucking, oh man, I'm so at a loss. There's so many little things that I want to bring up. It's making me so angry. I can feel my blood pressure. Oh gosh. Well, where were we in terms of the plot? It was at the Bears, and then they went into the swamp.
So last place we left off on was we got to the part where he gets into the city, and then basically he's immediately in prison. They know what he is. They tell him what he is.
Well, no, because we rewind.
They're gonna torture him
because he gets into the city.
That's in episode 4.
Oh right,
episode 4. They don't know until he does that fight with Whitley in the street below.
Yeah.
That's in episode 3.
Yeah, and then we see the prince get angry.
Yep, that's from the top because he realizes there's a wolf left alive.
Yeah, and then
this is a threat to my kingdom.
Drew and Whitley have a fight. Then after that, he's caged up again. It's become a meme. Yeah, it's become like a meme that Drew is just thrown in a cage literally every single episode, multiple times. It's just like, dude, come on. I know you're 15 in the show, maybe a little bit older, or about 15. It's about the same age in the book, and you literally have more agency to you.
Mm-hmm. And of course, any opportunity he has to escape, he's just like, leave me alone. I'm depressed.
Oh my god, you
such a puss.
You just reminded me of Mr. Frog from Smiling Friends right there.
That's right, Mr. Frog. Hello, I'm a wolf. Sometimes I turn into a wolf. Hello.
I'm a pussy. I don't.
I'm a pussy. I passed out again. I'm sorry.
What day is it?
Is it Tuesday?
Yeah, but
let's watch some fucking Smiling Friends instead. I tell you.
Smiling Friends is so much better than this.
Man.
They need to do another Halloween episode.
But that was probably the best episode of them all.
With the Halloween episode?
Yeah, that's still my favorite episode.
He's a fucking blackface dude? No, I'm literally a tree demon. Hey, fuck you. you racist piece of shit, and start killing them. They killed the fucking tree demon.
Tell me that's not
Right.
blackface.
And then they're like, "Wow, you saved Halloween, Charlie."
This is exactly why I don't dress up for Halloween.
Yeah, because years later, this is gonna come back to haunt me. I know it will.
Fucking cancel culture being made fun of and Smiling Friends is hilarious. But
I mean,
what?
anyway, yeah. So in prison, and then they
Oh yeah, they the sorcerer and the prince go up there because Drew is yet again locked up in the Bear King's room. The king
there's a giant
leaves.
honey tree.
Yeah. And then he gets kind of thrown around a little bit and then tossed literally out like it's not a window, a terrace. He gets tossed off a terrace. Whitley, a scrawny, skinny girl, and I think her brother.
Yeah, he's about to fall. She grabs his arm and she's holding on to this guy. And she's
Yeah,
just this, but of course, because she's a girl boss, she's got the strength to hang on to like him. And was it the other guy too?
I think it was the brother, and then the father came in at the right time. They're
I
like,
just don't give a shit about this thing. So I can't remember.
what the hell's going on in here, kind of thing. And then the prince like, your daughter came at me, blah blah blah, kind of being a snooty, stuck-up person, snotty, and being rude and being accusatory, and they start bickering back and forth, and
And of
then
course, he's the palest motherfucker in the show, but that's a different point entirely.
they basically skip over a bunch of small stuff, and then Whitley, the brother, Hector, save him again. They end up getting in the cage. They get surrounded. Hector's father is killed by the rat because reasons.
Hello,
You have to be specific about which rat, because it's not the one that killed his mother. It's a different one.
Yeah, the brother.
And the rats are the only ones that have tails in this show. It bothers me greatly.
Yeah, like why just the rats? I don't get it.
No one else has tails.
It's another one of those things. Just a bunch
And as
of
a result of that, but as a consequence of this, though, it makes Drew, the last wolf of his kind, look like a friggin' Worgen from World of Warcraft.
He looks like a husky. He doesn't.
He does look like a husky.
It doesn't.
It kind of looks like Biscuit Fister. Hi, Biscuit Fister.
Biscuit Fister ain't watching this shit.
Probably not.
No. But yeah, his design is just not that good, because I know you can see it a little bit behind the meme that Bisque has created as a thumbnail for this.
I did that thumbnail in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's definitely
It's
noticeable.
still 3 minutes more than this show deserves.
Oh, true.
Yeah, it's just lackluster.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm pirating Photoshop. Anyway, go on.
Oh, okay. Lackluster the show. That's what this. It's not even mid. It's very lackluster. You'll forget about
just called it. Meh.
The Meh King.
Eh.
You'll forget about this show.
I would love to just redub like every single episode, and every time that kid talks, he just goes.
I mean, you don't really need to. He already sounds like it. Yeah.
It's a whiner.
It's a whiny British
I
kid.
hate him. He's like the worst protagonist. Like, you wanted to like have a main character that people like and sympathize with. He does absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Like, I don't sympathize with any of the characters in the show because they're all just like meat puppets walking around. Like, anything can happen to them, even though you don't see them die. They're just characters. There's no interesting thing about them. It's like they're so bland. It's just the writer of the books definitely did not have any intentions of wanting
the Gretchen
to continue.
character that's the fox, right?
Yeah, the Gretchen. Gretchen's
she could have been the sexy bait. She could have been furry bait. She could have been like, but they never show her freaking transform.
No, not at all.
Right.
I mean, like, they teased the Fox Kingdom like when she's walking with the prince and the kingdom, the castle.
Oh,
They t-
good.
they
That's great. That's all I wanted was a tease.
little tease of a painting on a wall. But that's basically all we get, because they're going to make a season 2, which is going to be the second book, and they're going to ruin the second book next.
Mr. Author who wrote these books and then wrote the scripts, I hope you see this. I don't mean anything mean by it, but Jesus Christ.
Like, I loved the first book when I first read it. I remember loving it because it was actually, wow, this is actually like really interesting. It's getting like making my imagination go all over the place, and I'm being pulled into the world. When I watch the show, I'm like, I want to drink when I'm watching the show because the show is so boring, or it's just not grabbing my attention. Because I
I was
thought,
watching
okay,
YouTube half the time we were
the
watching
first
that shit.
episode, okay, definitely rushed. Okay, hopefully it gets better after the second one. Okay, the second episode was not that great. Okay, hopefully the next episode gets better. I kept telling myself it'll get better, and it did not get better. It just,
Man,
each episode got more and more boring. You could feel the pacing was definitely an issue.
now there's supposed to be werehawks in the upcoming books and seasons, and if those motherfuckers have wings but can't fly, oh, they're in trouble.
Yeah, we'll definitely be like watching the next seasons because they'll probably be cranking these out for like
They'll give us some
hardly
horseshit,
anything.
but like, yes, our ancestors could fly, but we've become grounded. Fuck you.
Because on the book art, they have wings.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
but they're kind of tiny little wings. Probably going to be like one of those. They're just vestigial.
I don't know. I haven't read.
I swear they're gonna. I'm just expecting it after what the trash they gave us in this first season.
Well, seeing how the hawk or the bird people aren't in the books until probably, I think it's book 3 or book 4. So I wouldn't know.
I hope at least one of them craps on the king's head or something.
There's only audiobooks for the first 2 books right as of right now. I wonder if they're gonna keep doing audiobooks for the rest of the series. Because from what Tofu was telling us Friday, is that everybody hates book 6. I don't know why, but apparently everybody hates book 6. Because I think that's like the Return of the King, from like Lord of the Rings. I think it's like Return of the King kind of thing, where it's like all like different armies are fighting one another. But I wouldn't know because I haven't read the book. I've only read the first book.
Well, are the books out?
Yes, the books have been out, dude.
No, I mean past season 1.
The books have been out for a long time. The first book came out in 2011.
I see.
Yes. Let me look at my books. They're right here next to my my desk here. So, book 2 came out in, say, hopefully it says. It's not telling me. 2012, so literally a year later. So I guess they came out. I guess they came out yearly. It says 2011 and 2012 on the back, so I'm assuming the the title. Okay, that's the title for 2011. So yeah, the book was made in 2012.
Oh.
Book 3 is Shadow of the Hawk, so that's the birds. That is 2013.
Hooray.
So yeah, they came out yearly. So the last book, I'm going to assume, because I'm holding book 4, came out in 2014. Nope, 2013 as well. Damn, this came out in 2013 as well. Did he seriously release 2 books in 2013? That's wild. But yeah, I'm going to say that they came out yearly, kind of like the Saw movies. They kind of came out every year.
Hate to say it, I feel woefully underprepared. I should have read the books myself before I came in here. Just so that I could be extra angry. It's like they did this in the book, but they didn't do
Well,
it in the
I
show.
have the first book on my bed. I was kind of skimming through the first few chapters before we started, and yeah, definitely a lot more violent than episode 1 of the show, or just the show entirely. There's more violence in the first few chapters.
Yeah. I mean, they could have just crapped out the whole story. Just the mere fact that there's so much potential in a show where nothing happens.
Yeah. Skipper, you got any thoughts on that?
On which part?
Just the show as a whole, because we all watched it Friday.
I just find the unusual mechanics that come up in the background and are never brought up again. Like, for example, remember in the beginning we were talking about which werelords were we shown, and I mentioned that the snake werelord was technically shown, but not really, since they're not a werelord anymore, because now they're just an animal.
Yeah, it was a giant snake.
At the
Just a big
last
snake.
minute, we were introduced to the stag werelords, which I completely forgot to mention because they only appear for an episode and a half, basically.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but think of the Milwaukee Bucks when I saw that. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, I know. But there's a lot of things that are just brought up, and remember briefly at the bottom of Count Vega's ship, he attempts to communicate with his father, who was recently murdered, and in doing so is interrupted by knocking inside of a chest because Gretchen has been captured. They didn't know that yet, and
Yeah,
he
they
just
just kind of
they never
quickly scrubbed past that. Like, he brought back
they
his
just
dad.
never reapproached that ever again. He just did it again, even though it's forbidden. No consequence comes of it.
Nope.
He tries to talk to his father. He doesn't ever do it again. It's never talked about ever again. I don't even know why they bothered to have him do that.
Yeah,
It felt like they did a rushed afterthought there and then didn't expand upon it.
like, character decisions that are made, like, they'll do something and there's no payoff for that action.
Right? It's like, so why do you even develop this? Have it sound like he's going to do it? Even shows his dad coming back, and then nothing comes of it.
That's all the show does. Sets up everything, accomplishes nothing. Just kind of fizzles out like a fart.
It just repeatedly nothing comes of anything really.
Yeah, so far,
It's just-
season 1, not the best. Not the best.
I wouldn't even bother to watch season 2 if there is one.
You don't want to see how bad it gets with the season 2?
No, I'm good. I feel like I can check out, and I feel like I'm not going to miss anything.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
So-
that dismissive at this point because they're so dismissive with their own characters. Quite honestly,
Sorry, I feel like Drew's the kind of kid who would just join Antifa.
I don't even think he would have the gusto to bother to pick up the sign to go out there because he'd be like, "Well, there could be some resistance. I don't know if I can do that."
All his friends are like, "You could turn into a wolf. We could take the system down." He's just like, eh.
Yeah, see, I would rather give up and be executed because I don't want to be too inconvenient for everyone else.
He literally says that in the show. He
Yes,
says, like,
he does.
he's just inconvenient for everybody. He feels bad. It's like,
That's right. Episode 8/7 made me like, what little respect that he had developed was completely removed at the end of that. It's like,
Surprised we didn't hear Stevie Nicks in the background.
you've completely given up. He just lets everything happen and does absolutely nothing.
yeah.
That guy, like in what's it, fucking Team America, at the window. You gave up on life, didn't you?
Did anyone else
You
ever
gave
watch?
up on the show.
You
Did
blew
anyone
it!
else watch RE0? I don't know if you watched RE0, Sam. But
No, I haven't watched RE0, but I know exactly what this is talking about with Team America.
well, there is one sequence in one of the episodes where the character just completely decides to give up on everything, and basically everything else just craps upon him for giving up and saying, "Well, you're completely wasting everything by doing this." And
That's the thing that drives me crazy. He's supposed to be this great.
right,
He's the chosen one, and the chosen
Yep.
one that does nothing.
right. It's like,
Nothing.
do you think this is what your mother who died would have wanted? You just fucking give up in the cell and just let it happen? Because he had like multiple opportunities to get out
Like-
of the situation. Didn't
he's face to face with a rat guy that killed his mom, and he's just like,
He doesn't even fight the rat guy.
Yeah.
He just kind of
After
bitches
he
out and kind of just runs away.
and won't like fully transform to deal with the rat guy because he could have.
Yeah, you think he would have just like exploded into that form and
Right.
just tore his head off.
Right, and that doesn't
Yeah.
even make sense because when we get to episode 5, where he has the venom inside of him, you know, the one that makes him want to go into Werelord mode all the time.
Yeah.
And
the snake's venom because he
he's-
got bit in the previous episode.
He's so easy to do that, but can't do it in a critical moment where his mother dies in front of him. That doesn't make
No, he
any
just
sense.
spends most of his time with his eyes glowing purple instead of yellow,
Yeah, I know.
and just having the same angst. That's what he is. He's an angst wolf.
Yeah, I called
Yeah.
him the reluctant werewolf, but
I know. I heard you.
yeah.
Anyway,
I
Well, I
suppose
didn't
that would
think it was
be
this po-
offensive to Shaggy.
yeah, I didn't think it was this possible to complain so much about a single television show.
Oh no, I'm sure people have done way longer episodes regarding like Game of Thrones and Doctor Who.
See, now I'd really like to watch somebody, who's like a popular reactionary or YouTuber watching that show or reacting to it, because I want to know if they feel the same way as we do. And normally I say, fuck your reaction videos, you're content thieves, but I would watch that just
Well,
to
see-
see if other people agreed with what we're saying here.
I guess it depends on what age group is reviewing it. I feel like
I don't think
if
any
someone
adults other than us will review this show.
Let's see, I'm old, Sam's young, you guys are young, you both hated it, I hated it, so I mean, there's a consensus there.
I just felt it was so. I feel like this was, when you watch the Sci-Fi Channel and you watch what is clearly a B movie, this is like the B TV show.
This feels like the Sliders of werewolf movies.
This is like
or TV
it's
shows.
super low budget. That's the thing. It's just a super low budget.
It's really, really forgettable. This is something you would find in the bargain bin at Walmart in a few years from now, if it was still there.
This is the Enemy Mine TV series.
This is a show that you would put on in the background for like a toddler. Even though
no, because we didn't see any pregnancy.
What?
I'm sorry, cracking a joke about like was weird content farms. Anyway.
Oh
God. No, this is like something you would put in front of like a toddler just to keep their brain busy while the parents are off doing something better.
But the thing is like with a toddler, you could dangle keys. They didn't dangle any keys in our face here. They only barely like they had their hand in their pocket and they were jingling the keys and the coins. That's what they did. They didn't even pull it out and dangle them.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's how I feel about it. That's my metaphor, and I'm sticking to it.
They need to not do another season. Wait a couple of years. Redo the first season and give it a bigger budget. Maybe do it live action. I don't know. We can do it in live action.
come on! You've seen what they did with this, and the writers who worked on the book worked on this, and there's no way they're ever going to be able to do that. Like, well, I don't think they can.
He must have backed up a Brinks truck of money to that author's house and said, "Here you go."
I'm honestly curious. How much did the show cost?
I don't know,
Is that-
$6.
Is that public information? Can we find out what that? How much?
Well, maybe if we'd done the research for this podcast, which we never do.
I did a little, but trying to see. No, it's not public.
Sponsored by the BBC.
Yeah,
It says it's estimated that the budget per episode is somewhere between $10 to $15 million.
Jesus Christ, that was not $10 million worth of animation. That shit was like $2 million.
Well,
Yeah.
if it was storyboarded first, I'm not all that impressed because it just, or I don't know.
You want to know what the IMDb rating is?
Mm,
What?
Just take a guess.
Is it gonna
Out
be
of
like
10.
a 60%?
3.
Out of 10. No, it was 66%.
Huh. So lukewarm.
Yeah. Most of the review scores here are 10s.
Okay, so while I was looking at this up, the people, on Google says people also ask, is there a season 2 of Wolf King? It says, after being in the works for multiple years, Netflix's adaptation of the Wereworld novels arrived on our screens on March 20th. But after the ending, you may be wondering if more is coming up. The answer looks to be yes. We're expecting Wolf King to return for a second and final season on Netflix.
Oh, final? Okay.
Which doesn't make
Oh.
any sense at all.
Well, I guess that's it then. Oh, wait.
Well, this is
Maybe
what
they're-
happens when you make a show that's so fucking boring.
Well, we don't know if the other books, because one of us only read one of the books. Maybe only 2 of the books connect together, and then the other ones are unique or separate stories.
I highly doubt that, because I would assume that all the books are connected. Because, I mean, let me look at the back.
Well,
Stuck together.
maybe it's not the same main character in the other ones, but
Okay, Drew. It's on 60.
I mean, think about it. Think if you're like somebody, and you're looking at Netflix, and you're looking for something.
Nope, they're all connected.
Hmm.
They're all connected.
somebody.
Think about this. You're a Netflix customer, right? You're looking for something to watch. It's a Friday night. You're bored. You're like, ooh, this looks cool. Thing about a guy who's a werewolf and the hero. Oh my god, it's boring.
Yeah, that was the greatest problem, really, to me, is that it was kind of boring. That just the whole thing's boring.
It's not just boring. It's beyond boring. It's. Oh.
It's very, like I said, lackluster. What the fuck? Season 1, episode 8 and episode 7 are the highest rated episodes.
I think it's just because people like put it on 2 times speed. It's like, let's just get through this.
I feel like that's what we should have done. We should have put it on 2 times speed. Because the episodes would have went by like way faster.
Yeah, bad characters. They just. I think the most obtuse and repellent characters you could think of, because you want characters in a show that people like, that they like, or they want to be like, or just be with, and there's none of that with these characters. None of it. And I did not get my TF kink material. Damn it.
Nope, not at all. Oh my god, he's the fucking king. Ralph Ineson. I didn't know he played the king in the show.
Ralph.
Yeah, Ralph Ineson is a very well-known actor that you've seen in a few movies I've watched in Discord. He's in The Witch.
Oh, the Vavitch?
Yeah, he's also in
Nice.
Nosferatu. The First Omen, The Creator. Apparently he's in Diablo 4.
What?
Yeah, he's in Final Fantasy, let's see, 14? XVI? No, 16.
Who can tell which one is which anyway?
He's in a movie called The Pope's Exorcist, which I never saw.
I watched It's dumb.
He's in 3 episodes of the shitty reboot of Willow. Poor guy.
Oh.
He's in the movie The Northman.
Northman was all right.
Yeah. He's in The Tragedy of Macbeth, The Green Knight, which I haven't seen yet.
I was disappointed by The Green Knight.
Really?
Yep. Something about it bothered me.
He's in Brahms the Boy 2.
The Boy.
Yeah.
2.
Doolittle with RDJ.
Oh, that's the one where Robert Downey puts his hand up a dragon's cooter.
Is that really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
And then it farts in his face.
He's also in The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. So I think they rebooted The Dark Crystal.
Can you imagine getting consistent parts because you're a great actor, but it just they turned out to be lackluster and kind of mid kind of shows
A
that
lot
nobody
of
really.
a lot of stuff that he's in is just either very mid stuff or stuff that I've never heard before.
It sounds like they might all be mid then.
I mean, The Kingsman Secret Service was a banger. The Guardians of the Galaxy was good. The Vavitch was also a really good spooky horror movie.
Yeah.
Wait, he's in Assassin's Creed Black Flag? Charles Van? Really? I didn't know that was him. How about that? Game I've actually played. And then all this other stuff that I'm looking at. Nothing. He was in Game of Thrones.
Of course.
Dagmere Cliffjaw. He's in 5 episodes.
Oh.
Apparently there was a Titanic TV miniseries.
That
Apparently.
reminds me. We need to watch Titanic 2.
Oh my god, please don't make us watch Titanic 2.
Or the animated Titanic with the rapping dog.
We already watched Titanic 2. We watched it in real time when the submarine exploded.
Too soon.
Too soon. Okay, Mufasa.
Yeah, he's also in Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2. And Half-Blood Prince.
Okay, that's kind of a win.
Let's just look. Oh, he's also in From Hell, the Johnny Depp movie we watched.
Oh yeah, we watched that.
Yeah, all this other stuff is stuff I've never heard of. It's all British shit.
Man,
yeah,
I can't wait for season 2 so we can complain some more because I can't think of anything else to complain about.
Because depending how fast they pump out season 2, we're gonna, review that. We're gonna watch it and then review it and be like, wow, this is even worse than the first season.
I'm sure some Filipino sweatshop animation studio is working on it right now.
Probably.
You wanted... Oh, this is one other thing I can think of to complain about. So this was episode 6. Remember, this is the one where they encounter Count Vega, the shark warlord. His betrayal occurs within less than 10 minutes of them getting together with him. So they get on the show, and they leave the port.
They're with him. Yeah.
Right. They're with him for less than 10 minutes, and he already betrays them. They're barely out to sea, by the way. They could easily swim back, probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if they want to jump in the ocean and try and swim away when he's part shark.
That's the fucking thing. He's a shark, and he didn't even show him underwater doing shark things.
I know. They never had a single moment where he did water stuff.
No, they briefly showed him do it at the end of episode 8.
Briefly.
Yeah, but at that point, it doesn't matter anymore.
But I mean, you got the whole fucking ocean. It's like prime for fantasy and wonder, and they didn't even show him going down to the bottom of the sea to take a crap or anything.
The fantasy aspects of the show was not good.
No, even though they could have easily done that.
I would have much rather read a book about Napoleonic Wars.
They try to momentarily cock tease that at the end of episode 8, where they do the thing where he ends up in that Egyptian land, and they're like, "Whoa, look at this desert climate! Wow, that sure looks interesting, right?" And then they have a mysterious character.
This show is almost on par with the Fallout TV show, in my opinion.
Oh no, I thought the Fallout TV show was a lot better than this in comparison.
No, I did not like Fallout.
I liked it.
There were
let's not get off on a tangent here.
I'm comparing apples and oranges. I know. I'm saying.
I don't even think it's remotely close.
I liked the feel, the vibe of Fallout, but I did not like the show Fallout. I thought it was just key jangling the show because they tease New Vegas at the end of season 1, and a lot of people don't want them to go to New Vegas because then they're going to ruin the story of Fallout New Vegas, the game.
Well, I'm going to tell you, as someone who played Fallout 1 all the way up to 4, it was very accurate to what 1, 2 are like, quite honestly, but
I don't know about that. Granted,
it's just my opinion. Did you play both of them?
I did not play Fallout 1 and 2.
Okay, if you're one of your criticisms might be the demographic subject. That was a thing even in 1, so that's not new at all.
No. I grew up playing Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4. Those are the
I know,
only
I'm just
Fallout games I've
saying,
played. I haven't played any of the really old ones.
to me, it felt like we were seeing, if 1 was live action, that's pretty much what it was.
I feel like if they are going to have more seasons of Fallout, they need to do the story of Fallout 3 after they do New Vegas. If they don't fuck it up, I have a feeling they'll
Yeah.
fuck up New Vegas. Because I don't know
Yep.
how they're going to do Mr. House. I don't know how they're going to do any of the Wasteland oh shit, what's it called? Wait, they're like little towns and different factions.
Settlements.
The factions, yeah. Settlements, factions.
One of the Okay, I don't want to go off tangent too much because I will if
Yeah.
we keep going.
Yeah. we'll get talking about Fallout instead of this Wolf King
Well,
show.
that would actually be interesting and worthwhile, but we find ourselves in this dark place.
Notice how we want to talk about something else other than the show.
It's because there's not much to talk about. That's what makes it worse.
Yeah, the fact that it was so short and everything just kind of merged together. It just each episode felt like it was just. If we put that show on 2x speed, the show would have been like an hour longer.
Yep. Remember another thing that didn't make sense, it didn't pay off, they didn't do anything with it. Remember when Whitley and Duke Bergen go to meet the lions in their city, right?
Yeah,
One of the things that Leopold says as soon as they land, before they even enter the room, he says to, I think it was Manaskin, off to the side, he says, once they come in, close it off, no one can leave. Nothing comes of that. There was no consequences for the bears at all.
Yeah.
Even though they mentioned something was going to happen to them, but nothing happened. And
Yeah,
remember, he said, I have something I'm going to do to Whitley. Nothing happened to Whitley. They did nothing.
It's a bunch of setup with no payoff. Also, they end up Whitley ends up finding Drew's real mother locked up in the tower.
Yes, which is developed in no way at all, other than she's being
she's
poisoned.
Just there. Yeah, she's been put under a spell. That's it. It doesn't make any sense. Yep. Congratulations, Netflix. You fumbled yet another interesting story.
It's Netflix. What do you expect?
If we were in 2012 or 2013 Netflix, I'm sure they would have probably gave this a little bit better of a budget.
Well, they'll greenlight anything.
Yeah. I feel like that's also another joke about Netflix. They'll just greenlight literally anything you put in front of them. So cool. I appreciate.
In any case, I'm exhausted from complaining so much.
Yeah, you want to watch Smiling Friends after this?
Oh God, we should.
Yeah. You got any closing statements?
Watch something else.
Don't watch this trash.
Like I'm
show.
sure this just sounds like sour grapes from like. But it's, man.
I'm just saying, like, there are better things you could watch. You could watch. Here, I'll give you an example. You could sit down and pick random episodes of Simpsons, and it would still be more interesting than what we watched.
It really pains me to be this negative about a book series, even though I've only read the first book. It's something that really caught my interest when I was in middle school, and read a little bit in high school. Something I actually really enjoyed. Kind of like the Red Letter Media quote that we keep saying. Bisque, would you say it?
Oh, which one? There's several. How's it feel to live long enough to see all of your favorite things wither and die? Something
Burn
like
down
that.
in flames.
Feels great.
Yeah, go down in flames.
Yeah, it feels great watching everything we love just be destroyed by hacks.
Yeah.
And things that have
Congratulations.
great potential don't even try, it seems.
If
For a
this
show like this, with all the elements that it could have had.
Netflix, if you even remotely see this could have been Game of Thrones. You could have
I
had
mean,
a Game
yes,
of Thrones.
we are a handful of angry, bitter, men, with nothing better to do than complain about a silly werewolf show, but
Yeah, a silly cartoon on Netflix. The books, yes, are made for ages 10 and up, but the show makes it seem like it's ages 5 and up.
Peggy 12.
It really was like not violent as whatsoever, other than a few jump scares from giant snakes and spiders.
Nothing gets shown. Stop being pussies.
Nothing is shown. No blood.
You're not protecting anybody by self-censoring. It's like fucking YouTubers that refuse to say words like kill or rape because they're precious ad revenue. They're just afraid.
We just got demonetized.
I don't get paid for this.
Yeah. What I mean. Well, anyway. So that's just how it feels like. It feels like a bunch of self-censoring, banal horseshit. It's bad.
Yeah. It's definitely a show from current day.
It's spineless. It's gutless.
It's millennial writing. Yay.
It's got no spine. If it does have a spine, it's jelly. There's no oomph to this show. There's no.
I'm more entertained by The Room.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Cats 2019 is better than this.
There's another.
Release the butthole cut.
Another interesting. Another thing I just thought about was, remember how in episode 4 he gets, he has the venom in him and he's gonna kill Gretchen, but then he doesn't, and then she thinks after that at any moment he could snap and instantly kill her at any point.
Well, that's the thing. She's also a lord, so she would have also had the power to fight back, which doesn't make any sense. She doesn't. She's cornered in that little room.
Right. Well, I'm bringing this up because remember what happens in episode 8. She decides after he goes back, even though the stag goes to great effort to get him out of prison.
Yeah.
He goes back because she's got a sword up against her face. And he's like, wait, no, you can't. Don't hurt Gretchen, even though you're going to marry her in like a few minutes. So you're not going to kill her, but I'm going to do this anyways, even though I know that you're not going to kill her. Wait, don't kill Gretchen. And then
I give up.
Then she decides in episode 8, well, despite the fact that I didn't like him in that previous episode where, he had the venom in him and he almost killed me. Well, I'm going to come bring him a key because, well, I feel bad since he almost escaped and whatever.
Yeah, that whole escape scene was literally pointless.
Yep, that resulted in absolutely nothing.
Yes, that everything that happened in that episode just happened. There's no point for it to happen.
There's also zero explanation about why Leopold did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
While they were watching him be taken away.
Yeah, literally nothing.
Again, you can't have any male characters that are strong, interesting, or accomplish things. You can't. Not in today's
Leopold could have instantly won that conflict because supposedly he's so badass, but now we never actually see him fight anyone. If you notice, he didn't fight anyone except in episode 8. He briefly fights the bear and the stag, and then they don't do anything. They barely show anything.
Well, the king kills Drew's adoptive father, and then he fights the stag and the bear.
Yep.
Lords.
Yep.
So
that's it.
The violence is so toned down, so toned down.
There's also another thing that happens, but it's completely forgotten. You remember the Werelords? There was 2 stag people.
Yes.
There was the one that is important, but then the one that actually, tries to rescue Drew.
Yeah,
the one
he
that
just
did
disappears.
All of this crap. No, that's not what happened. He died. But you wouldn't know that because they don't show it. He actually died there.
Wait, he died?
Yes, he died in that conflict. And the worst part of all is, despite all of that effort, Drew gives up after someone got themselves killed trying to rescue him.
I didn't even know he fucking died. I thought he just disappeared.
No, he's died. You can look it up on the wiki. He's dead.
Seriously?
Yeah. I actually saw that before we started.
Did he get run over by the cart?
Remember, there was someone who got shot with an arrow, and they don't show them dying, but yeah, that was him.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Jesus Christ, this show sucks. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's dead.
I didn't know he was dead.
Yep, he's dead.
Well, if it didn't happen on screen, I don't think he's officially dead.
It does briefly, and no, on the wiki even shows he's dead.
Fuck, dude. Really?
Yeah, he's dead.
That's so aggravating.
His name was Mikhail, like with 2 Ks.
Yeah. Was he also a lord, or was he just a knight?
He was. Yeah, I think he was a werelord.
That's so stupid. Oh my god.
It's funny because that implies that the arrows were also silver, but they never said that.
They never said anything about the arrows being silver. So that's literally another plot hole. Jesus.
Oh.
I'm not great at writing. I could have wrote something better. Jeez. I hate being so negative, but oh my god, it's so hard not being negative about this show. I went in with
frustrating.
a little expectations, and it killed every single bit of it.
Yeah, it really is just a case of a show that had so much potential, and they didn't even try.
Yeah,
it would seem.
It's almost like if Hollywood can't write for shit anymore.
Yeah,
well, and they phoned it in to the highest and hardest degree possible.
Well, maybe if AI can write better than people, then hey, nothing more to complain about.
Well, at this point, in some cases it might be, but like
sure
this is a great. This show is an example of like I think anything would have helped. But
anything could have helped.
There was also another scene that bothered me. Remember, so Drew's adoptive mother tells him, "Go to Duke Bergen, who will help you get more information, or get you on your way."
Yeah,
he goes there, and he gets, and I quote, "After being put into prison without any explanation of anything." When he finally gets to Duke Bergen, he says, "The last time I tried to help a wolf, it almost got me killed. I can't help you."
Yeah.
And then when he's in prison and he's going to be executed, Duke Bergen shows up again and is actually willing to get him out of prison after we just had this long session about how he won't do anything. They're too cowardly to actually do anything against Leopold.
Yeah. Everybody's a fucking coward.
Yes, every character's a coward except the Stags, apparently. Oh, and Whitley.
Oh, yeah, Whitley.
Yeah, which is funny because the Stags are supposed to be cowardly, like, Stags run away when, hunters show up and stuff, but or predators, because they're not predators, but
yeah. So Jim said basically really afraid of new ideas, really half-assed it to be like Game of Thrones and Avatar, and they screwed it up on being neither of those.
Yep.
Which is true. Because you can tell that they wanted it to be like a kid Game of Thrones with a little bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender dashed in. But they didn't write it that well, and there's so much stuff that is cut out and left out of the show that's from the book that you wouldn't be able to tell that it was supposed to be like Game of Thrones. Because even my normie friend who sat and watched it with us said, wow, this looks like if someone watched Game of Thrones and Avatar: The Last Airbender and just wrote a shit show about it. Like a little copy, a clone. And he's right.
I don't even know if I'm going to remember anything that we watched in a month from now, because it's just not really that groundbreaking on any front, to be honest.
I will probably not watch this again. This is something I will probably forget about within, like, the next week. Unless it's brought up in conversation and be like, oh yeah, that show.
Yeah, remember the greatest show we ever watched? Me neither.
Time to go back and watch Breaking Bad for another 6th time.
Yeah. I'd rather watch all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones than watch this. And we all know what happens after season 5.
Yeah, might as well, right?
Technically, season 5 and up, it got bad, but season 7 and 8 were. But even season 7, 8 can hold a candle up to this. It's just so bad. Man, never in the when I first read the first book, I never would have thought they would have made a show about this book, and they would have fucked it up this bad.
Well, I mean, we can even talk about the book cover changes that happened between the original book covers and then the ones that we now see if you were to buy the book now.
Yeah, they changed the book covers too.
And
Well,
we even we looked at like 4 different covers, and there was one where it looked really badass, and then they did this weird new thing.
yeah, it's like really bad Photoshop.
They look Photoshop. Like all of them look like someone photoshopped it in 10 minutes.
Yeah. I want to get the OG covers, the badass ones that we saw.
I could not find any of them for sale anywhere.
Well, I wonder if it was like concept and then they didn't use it.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know either. I wouldn't be able to tell you because the ones I own are the only ones I have seen out and about.
Yep.
Yeah. But the good thing is that we are done talking about the show. There is nothing
Thank
else
you,
to
fuck
talk.
Christ.
There's nothing else to talk about.
Here,
The show sucks.
I'll post
No.
an image to represent what I kind of thought of it in the end.
I could gripe about it all night. I'd be very good at it.
If I
Here.
did not work in the morning, I would have probably busted out some Jack Daniels to talk about this for another
I'm
45 minutes.
In our general chat for this voice chat, I'll put an image here, but it's basically the WoW sign, and then the shelves are completely empty.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
Yeah.
it felt like, where it's like, wow, he can transform into a wolf. What are we going to do with it?
Nothing.
Nothing. We didn't do anything with it. We had, okay, remember how many epic fights we had? We had the one with Count Vega briefly on top of the show. He's like,
Yeah.
wow, you're a fast learner, but we're not going to do anything with any of these skills.
Yeah. Learns new skill. Oh, this
Does
will come
nothing
into
with it.
use later. Doesn't use new skill.
Remember, he climbs in, chases after Leopold after he's rescued by his father, who decides to save his ass to the last minute.
Yeah.
And he gets in there, and then instead of fighting Leopold, decides to fight the Rat Man, and then pussies out in the middle of that fight again, and decides to run up the stairs.
And then reverts back to his normal form, slips through
just
the
to
cage.
escape.
Yeah, to escape.
Decides not to fight.
Yeah.
Pussies out again. Again!
He accidentally lights the rat guy on fire.
Because Count Vega's throwing bottles of alcohol at him.
Yeah.
Which I think is a complete accident. I don't think Count Vega was planning on the rat running into a lamp.
No, that was completely on accident.
Yeah.
That was not supposed to happen. That was completely on accident.
This felt so strange, and that was actually one of the only scenes where I felt like they ever did anything clever, where he's like, well, if I'm going to be a pussy, I guess I can just escape through these bars. I'm just going to change back to human form and slip through.
Because even Vega slips through the bars.
Yeah, but then the rat guy doesn't get the same idea? Really?
Yeah, and he's actually skinny in his human form. It doesn't make any sense. But he gets caught on fire and he falls down into the chamber where the king is, which I don't know how he didn't die from that height.
Nope.
And then he scurries off, runs away.
Yep.
Like, cool guys. You failed at an interesting fight scene. Cool.
Leopold does absolutely nothing, and for some reason decides to give the son of the person who just tried to kill him, not even joking, a ring, and says, "Here, take this to a faraway land. I trust you with this mission, random servant of mine. We've got a deserter, guys. He's trying to get out. I'm not a deserter." Just
kicks the guy in the face and just keeps going.
Yep.
And then he ends up going to Arabia somewhere where I guess they're teasing like the bird people for the next
Right, and
season.
then he gets darted in the side of his head, and it's like, here you go, here's the ring before I die, kind of situation happens.
Oh, it wasn't a dart. It was like a
It was a well, it looks like a.
It was like something to knock him out. Be like, hey, look, I'm
I
here.
thought that was called a buffet dart.
I don't think so. I think that was just a knockout dart, like to make you go sleep. I don't think they would have killed the brother off like that. That was lame, if so. Because remember he held up the ring to the I guess the bird person for the next season, which which is really funny because that they're not supposed to be there until like the third book, but I guess we're skipping over book 2.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna sit down and read these books,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever, I guess. Anyways, thank you for coming out and listening to our TED Talk.
Yeah,
If you
this
made
is a
it this
lot.
far, you
This
survived.
is a lot more complainy than usual.
Yeah, if you made it through the what almost almost 2 hours worth of complaining.
I mean, I had more to say about the beginning because I was more interested in the beginning, and as the show went on, I just became less and less interested. So I can't remember anything really much. Okay, I remember a little from the end, but the beginning is the most. Oh, jeez, fuck, God, I'm so angry.
I think
I
you need to
felt
read the
like
book.
episode 1 had some intrigue there, and then they just completely abandoned it.
Yeah, they
The
might
Karens
have
got to this show.
they might have had something in the first like episode or 2, and they just did nothing with it.
Yep, not much you can do about it.
Yeah.
In any case,
Yeah. At least the giant spider design was cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
It just reminded me of something from
the
Dark
designs
Souls.
alone by themselves are okay. It's just
And at some point, I'm kind of rooting more for the antagonist than the hero because I feel like the hero's not going to do anything. So
Yeah. But alas, they did not.
look, just arrest me again, guys. I know I'm going to jail again when we get to the next episode. So
If
I
anything,
know.
I recommend reading the books. Don't watch the TV show. It's not worth your time. Unless you want to drink with your buddies. Then by all means. But go buy the books. They're on Amazon. They're on eBay. God knows they're probably at a bookstore for like $7 a piece on hardcover.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't have him say something like, "He's been unalived."
Mm-hmm.
No, they did say a few funny lines though, regarding puns, but other than that, nothing.
And on that note, thanks for watching.
Yep. Thank you for
I'm
watching.
Rectal Bisque, sadly.
Yep, that is Rectal Bisque.
and then that's Sam, the Apollo Theater Wolf.
Samuel Paulo.
Yes.
Your theater wolf.
And Skips. I mean Skippa.
He's a skipper.
Not to be confused with the other ones, not like an avatar maker or anything.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
will see you again soon.